If I ask you to add energy saving mode to your embedded product, will it take you 10 minutes or 10 days? The truth is, the answer depends entirely on one thing: your firmware architecture. Inexperienced developers might just jump straight into writing code for the specific MCU. However, it is better to let the data dictate your design. In this video, we are going to demonstrate how to build a scalable software using finite state machines. As an embedded engineer, there is a trap that you have to avoid. We get a new microcontroller, we look at the data sheet, and we start configuring the registers. By doing this, we couple the application so tightly to the hardware that swapping out a sensor for another sensor or swapping out a specific microcontroller for a different one becomes a nightmare. If you forget everything in this video, do not forget this: the customer does not care whether you are using I2C1 or ADC1, or that the clock speed is 168 MHz. They only care about the behavior and the response of the embedded product. So how do we shift our mindset? Let's dive in. If you are going to succeed on your journey as developing for embedded systems, this is the philosophy you need to have. There is no hardware, only data. This means that we need to adopt a top-down approach. Hence, we start with the features and we ask what data comes into the system and what data goes out of the system. Which means that do not think of your microcontroller unit, whether STM32 or ESP32, as a collection of peripherals and pins. Instead, I want you to see it as a data processing unit. You give it data and it gives you an output. When we adopt this philosophy, then finite state machine becomes an important part in writing firmware for hardware systems. The reason is that finite state machine provides a deterministic behavior. When this data goes into your system, you know exactly what is coming out of the system. To demonstrate this, let us look at a classic button example. A simple button press to toggle an LED. Here is a quick and dirty way that we've done it. Everybody is guilty. Although it's very simple, it's blocking. The CPU is stuck in delay loops. If we want to add something like Bluetooth handling or a sensor read, it will fall apart. The hardware, being the button, is controlling the software flow, and this is not a scalable way to build embedded software. To solve this problem using finite state machines, we need to adopt the philosophy that we just talked about. There is no hardware, only data, which means that the button in the previous slide is just data input and the LED is an output data. In order to fix this, we are going to use finite state machines, and in that we are going to use a structure to define all the various states that the button can be in at a specific time. This structure holds the state of the system and the process data. Our main loop is now just a reflection of the output. Now, implementing the while loop of this program, you can see the clear separation. The run state machine function contains our logic. It's clean, it's testable, and has no idea what pin the LED is on. Implementing finite state machines is really simple. We just need to define the states that our button is going to be in, as we just saw in the code, which means that the magic is simple. We are only implementing the transitions based on the data, and this is how you create a scalable architecture. But when the LED is in on state, because in this program we are just toggling, when the button is pressed again, we want the state of the LED to reverse. Now look at that. The finite state machine logic is completely isolated. It doesn't care how we detected the button press, whether it was a physical GPIO or a touch sensor or a command from a serial port. The data is the only thing that matters. This is scalable. Adding a new blinking state now is trivial. In situations where the embedded software that you are building is complex, you build a table, and inside the table you can define all your states. And of course, we are writing in C, the table is a structure. Inside the structure, you define all the possible states that your data could be in. As a result, you take a specific action. This is what we call data-driven design. The entire behavior of your system is defined by data, this time in the table, not by a sprawling list of conditional statements which can make your firmware messy. Now, if you want to change the timeout from 5 seconds to 10 seconds, you just change a number. You don't have to dig through interrupt handlers. This is the power of using finite state machine, and this is how you build your capacity as an embedded system architect, where you are not only thinking about writing syntax of code, but actually looking at the entire system and how the components interact with each other. One thing that you have to take out of this video is that designing a scalable embedded firmware or software is about architecting a system that manages complexity. If you want to learn more about abstracting hardware and building professional embedded software, you can check out some of my videos in the description. Don't forget to subscribe.